Okay, we have a few people joining us, and we'll start right at 9 a.m.
Or noon Eastern.
Or noon Eastern. Thank you, Edna.
Where is Steve coming from? What state?
We can't hear you.
I'm just north of Edna. I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio. So I know how to pronounce Louisville.
He doesn't get speeding tickets.
I do. I haven't in Louisville. That's been good. But I've been there many times.
Yes, visiting U of L.
Visiting U of L. I've also been there on the mini vacations. I'm always amazed at the size of the river where it all connects. If you haven't been there, the Ohio River connects down there, and it's so huge. Because I'm right on the river as well, but not nearly as wide as what you see in Louisville.
Oh, wow. I just assumed it was that wide. Talk about, myopic perspective.
No, it's definitely much wider where you are than what the rest of us see.
Interesting. You come here for many vacations. When my son and grandchildren visit, we're going to Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
It's
just fun to go to a different city.
Yeah, for some daytime, activities, especially for kids.
Yep.
All right, well, it is the top of the hour, at least on my clock, so I will go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for our iClicker Classic Retirement Party webinar. My name is Lindsay Thomas, and I'm the Senior Customer Marketing Manager. I've been part of the iClicker team for almost 7 years now, so as bittersweet as it is to be saying goodbye to iClicker Classic, we have a panel of speakers today who are going to share some of the reasons to be excited about this retirement, some of their favorite features of iClicker Cloud, and what they've learned along the way as they've made their own transitions from Classic to Cloud. So I have a couple of quick housekeeping announcements. We have muted everyone to keep out background noise, but we do want to hear from you. If you'd like to ask a question or give us any feedback, feel free to just put it into the chat. We will be monitoring those questions as they come in, but we'll also be saving some for our Q&A at the end of the webinar. We are also recording this webinar, and we'll email you a link to the recording and the slide deck in the next few days. And Natalie, you can move to the next slide, please. And then, okay, introduction. So I'll be kicking things off by introducing you to our lovely panel of speakers as I go through each item on the agenda for today. So next item. First up, we have transitioning to iClicker Cloud, or transitioning from Classic to Cloud, with Natalie Dougal, who is our Customer Marketing Specialist and a Community College English instructor. Natalie will be covering a few helpful reminders and benefits to look forward to as you transition to iClicker Cloud. And you'll be seeing these reminders a lot, both today and in our emails. Just remember that you can keep using iClicker without Wi-Fi, and you can keep using iClicker with your physical iClicker remotes and hardware. All right, next up, we will have the iClicker development story with Stephen Ray, who is our iClicker General Manager. So Stephen will take us on a walk down memory lane for iClicker over the past 2 decades. And then after that, we have Transitioning the Classroom with Dr. Edna Ross, who is a professor of psychology in the Department of Psychological and Brain Sciences at the University of Louisville. She is course director for the department's introductory psychology course, which has annual enrollments of several hundred students. Dr. Ross has received several teaching and student involvement awards, including a nomination for the U.S. Professor of the Year Award and the College of Arts and Sciences Distinguished Teaching Award. Dr. Ross is here to share her personal experience as one of the original iClicker Classic instructors, is now a happy iClicker Cloud user, and she'll talk about just how much money her students have saved thanks to that switch. And then we have Transitioning the Campus with Dr. Grace Tuttle, who is a researcher and peer consultant for Macmillan Learning. She was an instructional technologist who has worked with iClicker as an administrator with hundreds of instructors and tens of thousands of students at Boise State University. She holds an EDD from Idaho State University in Educational Leadership, Instructional Design, and Technology. Dr. Tuttle will share her personal experience as an iClicker admin supporting the transition from Classic to Cloud, and some helpful tips to keep in mind for those in our audience who are also helping their campus make the switch now. And then last but not least, we will wrap things up with a Q&A session today. Natalie and I have hosted a lot of webinars, and the Q&A section is always our favorite part because we get to hear from you all directly. So with that, over to you, Natalie.
All right, I gotta unmute myself, make sure everybody can hear me. So I'm really happy to have Lindsay back. She has been on maternity leave for a while, and we have all missed her a lot. So this is really great to have her back, especially for this kind of retirement party for such an important piece of software. So starting in January 2024, the iClicker Classic software is going to be retired. So that means it's going to be time for you to start with iClicker Cloud when you have your new classes that start next term. And we are here to really support you and make that transition a smooth one. All iClicker instructors are going to need to upgrade to that iClicker Cloud software. But the great thing about this transition is it really is just a software transition. You all have ways that you teach your class that work for you, and we are committed to helping you continue to do whatever's been working for you. So if you love your base, if you love your iClicker remote, that is not a relationship we're going to get in the middle of. You can keep on using those tools. So iClicker Cloud is a software like iClicker Classic, and what it does is it can accommodate any combination of student response options. So you're able to continue to require students to maybe use just the iClicker remote or the iClicker 2 remote. You also have the option to allow students to use the iClicker student mobile app via the web or via an app on their phone, but it's entirely up to you. In the settings for iClicker Cloud, you decide what to allow. And if you come to an iClicker Cloud training, we can sit there and go through the iClicker Cloud settings and make sure they are exactly the way you want them to be, so they are like they were when you were using Classic. iClicker Cloud also functions in classrooms without Wi-Fi. I think that's one of the top concerns instructors have had if they are in classrooms where the Wi-Fi is not really great. Only your computer, the instructor's computer, needs to be hardwired to the internet. So you know that podium computer that's in your classroom where you're able to look at your Google Slides? That is going to be a computer that you can also use iClicker Cloud on. The Wi-Fi in the classroom is not an issue as long as you are still plugging in your iClicker base and you are requiring students to use, again, those iClicker remotes. And iClicker remotes are always going to have a place here at iClicker. So I want to talk about some of the really great things that you're going to get when you transition to iClicker Cloud. A big reason that we are transitioning away from Classic to Cloud is so that we can put all of our development efforts into making iClicker Cloud the best iClicker software. So the number one benefit for you is everything is going to be stored in the cloud. You don't have to carry around a flash drive anymore. And you know, if you are at home and you want to see how one of your students is responding to your iClicker questions, you can just go to iClicker.com, log in, and you can see all your student data there, and you can get really into your iClicker data in a way that's inviting and fun. You also get a wonderful modern online gradebook that you can access and sync anywhere. So I think a lot of people have been nervous about losing maybe some of their sync options from Classic to their LMS they've relied on for a long time. And I want you to know that LMS sync is one of those things in cloud that we spend a lot of time trying to make more elegant and easier for our instructors all the time. We know it's important to you. This is a place we put a lot of development energy into, and I think you'll be pleased with the improved experience. We also have enhanced instructor tools in iClicker Cloud. If you decide to let students use their mobile device or their laptop as a response device, you're going to have more polling question options. For example, we have multiple answer. So with multiple answer, you can ask students to respond and mark all of the answers that they feel are correct. So if you're someone who teaches those really big classrooms and you're like, hey, I can't get away from multiple choice, multiple answer is a way to actually have an alternative to multiple choice while still limiting and making it very quick the way you want multiple choice to be. You're also able to ask short answer questions where students can answer with up to 140 characters. You can limit students to numeric responses where they can answer with up to 8 numerals. And then we have these great target responses where you can send students an image and then they touch on the image to show where they feel the correct answer is. This is so great to have students look at charts, interact with images of all kinds that are important in your field. You also have the ability to ask students questions anonymously. This is a feature that instructors really value and students really value as well. And lastly, with iClicker, you can ask questions using a confidence rating. And so with this confidence rating, you can ask a multiple choice question, and then you can ask a follow-up question that says, hey, how confident are you about that choice? Because sometimes instructors are asking those multiple choice questions and they think to themselves, do my students really understand this concept or are they good guessers? With that confidence rating, they can get a little bit more insight. You also get iClicker attendance with iClicker Cloud. And I think that this is something that is a really nice feature because we noticed that so many instructors valued extracting iClicker attendance data from their classic sessions that we thought, hey, let's make this an explicit feature in iClicker Cloud. So every time you run a polling session, we also generate an attendance record for you and your students. And what you can also do is you can set attendance to auto run. So let's say you have a guest speaker and it's not a day you're going to do an iClicker polling session. That's okay. Your students are still able to check in for iClicker attendance. So that's a feature that, again, we could tell you more about if you attended an iClicker training, and we can show you how to use that one-on-one. When you transition to cloud, your students are going to also get an enhanced experience. iClicker attendance is very motivating for students to attend class. This is, I like to say, this is the Fitbit generation. They've been tracking their steps since they were preteens. And so they really like having data about, you know, what they've been up to. And trying to estimate your attendance in a class is actually kind of a tough task. Having iClicker attendance motivates students to attend class because they want to see that they're on a streak of perfect attendance. And so it's really nice to just give them that tool. And also, if you choose, students can use iClicker study tools to create flashcard packs and practice tests of your polling questions outside of class. So both of these features that I just described here, they are available to your students even if you are going to stay with the iClicker remotes. These are things that your students are going to get now that you are upgrading to iClicker Cloud. So I think this is really wonderful. Stephen, I want to pass it over to you so you can talk about the iClicker story.
All right, thanks, Natalie. Seemed appropriate that we spend just a little bit of time on the history of iClicker. And as I was pulling this together, I realized iClicker is now 20 years old. It's all started in 1997 at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. Some of you may have heard this story, but the original inventors were Tim Stelzer and Matt Salem. They were physicists and they were teaching at University of Illinois. And the problem they wanted to solve is figure out how to make their classroom more engaging. Now, iClicker was not the first student response system to enter the market. There were systems that were already out there. Tim and Matt's tried all of them and found them all to be way too complicated. And so they took a different approach. They simplified the process and created what is now called iClicker Classic and the physical remotes. In 2005, Macmillan Learning was fortunate enough to partner with Tim and Matt and bring them into the Macmillan Learning family, and collectively took the product to market, and it became an instant success, based mostly because of the simplicity. 2014 was an important year for iClicker. You may recall by then that cloud computing and mobile devices had found their way into the classroom, and we realized that the market was moving in this direction. Now, what I said to the team, I recall having this conversation, as we started to think about iClicker Cloud and how to develop this, said we have to do two things. One, maintain the simplicity and approach that Tim and Matt began with. We cannot lose that. That is the iClicker foundation. And also this new software, although it will be working with mobile, it also has to work equally well with the physical remotes. The team delivered, and we have had instructors moving to iClicker Cloud from 2014 on. So now we're in 2023. I just pulled the numbers, and this year we have 7.7 thousand instructors who are using iClicker, 17K active courses, 1.5 million enrolled students this year are using iClicker. And of those instructors who are using iClicker, 97% of them are using the iClicker Cloud software. And that factors spring into the equation. So in fall, we have even fewer. So we're down to the final percentages of instructors who are still using the iClicker Classic software. And what we're doing and asking of these instructors is to begin the process of moving to iClicker Cloud. We believe that you will find this to be, if not as good, a better experience, if not as good. The last thing that I will say is that we were reiterating this again and again. We are sunsetting and retiring iClicker Classic. We are not retiring the physical remotes. They have a future in the iClicker family. There are no plans to end the development and the use of iClicker physical remotes. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Edna, who's going to tell us a bit about her transition from iClicker Classic to iClicker Cloud.
Morning or afternoon if you're on the East Coast. Thank you. I just want to thank Natalie for inviting me to the farewell party, the retirement party. I was one of the original users of iClicker. I started using iClicker in 2005, which I think was probably one of the first times it became available widespread. I was responsible for beta testing the system at the University of Louisville, where we said bye to the very glitchy system we were using. As a matter of fact, I went to a conference when I first heard Matt, or maybe it was Tim, discussing iClicker. And I know they wanted to call security on me because I was saying, I need that, I need it now. Because at the time, my courses were 350 students. And at the time, because that was the largest room we had at the University of Louisville, and there was no way I could engage in 350 students without iClicker. And at this point, these many years later, I have come to the point where I say I refuse to teach unless I can use iClicker. That's how integral it is to my teaching and to the success of my students. I loved iClicker when I first started it because the remote was so easy to use. And I just want to emphasize, I understand why people are a little wary of, giving up the remote. We're not asking you to give up the remote at all. It's just to change the iClicker remotes to the cloud platform. I understand the reluctance of giving up the remote. As a matter of fact, Stephen will remember when I used to say things like, you will have to pry this remote from my dead cold hands before I give them up. He remembers, he's smiling. And I had no interest in doing anything but what I was doing already. And that is plugging in my flash drive, using that little, the console, the box, and using my remotes. I had no problems with that. That was successful. Then the pandemic hit. And everyone was forced to go online. As I said before, I can't teach without the interaction with iClicker. So I was forced to use the cloud at that point in time. And guess what? It really has made me rethink my perspective on using the cloud and using phones and those type of devices, I would not go back. I have not looked back since the pandemic. I transitioned to the cloud with students using their phones or any other mobile device, and I have not looked back since then. Currently, we want to talk about how much money my students have saved. This is very, very conservative because I teach a minimum of 700 to 800 students a semester, each semester. So this is just with one section of a course with 300 students. The physical remote costs $55. So with 300 students, that was costing my students $16,500. The app is much, much cheaper, and it's for 6 months, which is basically a semester. And for the app, the students are saving $11,000. And that's on a very conservative estimate of 300 students. If you multiply that number by 2 or 2.5, you can see that the student savings are tremendous. As a matter of fact, if I had known about the student savings before the pandemic, I probably would have transitioned just because of the money it was saving my students. But if your students have purchased the physical remote, I don't know if you know this, but they get the app free. So if you allow it, and instructors have total control over what device or if the devices that students use. If you allow it, the students who want to experiment with iClicker Cloud doing the mobile device, they can. They can, and you can do that by just allowing that in your class. So if you want to take baby steps into, transitioning to mobile devices, that's a good way to do it. It's just let your students decide for themselves which device they want to use. But I just want to end by saying you have the choice. You do not have to have someone pry the remote from your dead cold hands. You can still hold on to that remote. You can still hold on to the box, and you can still use iClicker. And I can't teach without it. And I will end my session with just that statement.
Thank you so much, Edna. Your passion always comes through, and I always think, man, I would have loved to have been in your class when I was an undergrad. I would have learned a lot. So now I wanted to hand it over to Grace Tuttle, who's going to talk to the administrator side of things of this transition.
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me, right? A few things that I want to let you guys know. When I took over as an iClicker administrator at Boise State University, I did not know iClicker Classic at all. I had few instructors in iClicker Classic, and management told me it's time for us to move the instructors to iClicker Cloud because eventually we're going to be moving to a different LMS. So what I have done is to reach out to the instructors who were using iClicker Classic, and there was one of them that did not want to move to iClicker Cloud. So what I did is I made sure that I work with my IT, because I was part of IT, made sure that all of my Podium computers has iClicker Cloud installed, and I assured my faculty member that I'm gonna sit in his iClicker Classic, and if he wants to use iClicker Cloud to test, I'm gonna be there with him 100%. I will not drop him. There's no way under my being an administrator, no way, I will not drop him, even if it's just 1%. So I had to understand what he was going through, and it's a constant communication with him. And I reassure all of my faculty members who were using iClicker Classic that they're going to be able to use the physical, the remotes. And I met with my instructors in their offices, in their classrooms, to talk about their concerns. moving forward to iClicker Cloud. And one of the customized support that I have done for the faculty or for the university is I do a one-on-one. And then there are 3 things that I prepared. Everybody, whether they're in iClicker Classic or Cloud, I created an iClicker faculty learning community because I wanted the 6 professors to be talking to other professors, right? Because then they will be listening the other professors who are hesitant in using iClicker Classic to move to iClicker Cloud will be there, will get their support from the faculty members. The second thing I also have done is I invited Professor Matt Evans. I believe he is in our webinar right now. I invited him to come to my school. And I think that also helped the transition and just to use the iClicker Cloud in general. And then the other thing that I also have done is I always work with Macmillan support because I do not know everything about everything. So I'm going to go pull the experts. So they did the training and everything, those 3 things I have done really help. And I always assure when I give my word, I'm there. If I'm not going to be there, somebody's going to be there to help my faculty members. And also the reason why I was explaining why we need to move from iClicker Classic to Cloud is, as you guys know, I don't know in your university, but I know most universities like data. Well, in iClicker Classic Cloud, I had to call my faculty members. I said, can you please give me my data because I gotta go submit to management and stuff. Well, in iClicker Cloud, that is very, very easy for an administrator to do. So at some point, the instructors, iClicker Classic instructors understood why also I needed those data because eventually I want us to have an enterprise license for iClicker Cloud because it will be really, really cheaper for students. So these are the things I have done. And I think the main thing is I just built relationship where my faculty members are comfortable in saying what they needed. And then if they have some type of feature that they want, I always go back and try to work with Macmillan, and that's not a problem at all. And I think it helped. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. That was super helpful. And on the training piece, some of our admins don't have the bandwidth to train folks like Grace. And so if you go to iClicker.com, there's a training link that's right there that your instructors can sign up for a one-on-one training with somebody who knows exactly what's going on at your campus. So we're to the really fun part of things, which is the Q&A section, and we have these images here. Stephen, would you like to talk about these images while we get some questions?
Well, these just came in today. I hadn't seen these. I think I had seen the one on the right. We've had some pictures sent to us of cakes that have been made into clickers. That's always fun. I've never had a chance to taste one, unfortunately. On the bottom, every year, we have students who are out and they dress up for Halloween as clickers. In this particular case, we hid the identity of the student because this is not someone that we necessarily know. So I wanted to be sensitive to that. But it's been lots of fun. Every Halloween, we get pictures coming in from all over the country of students dressed up as clickers. At the top, this was a new one to me. It was an instructor remote where the instructor took some type of a chain and attached it to the flash drive and their name to make sure that it was all together. At first, it looked like a clicker nunchuck, but I was informed that that was not what it was. And in the bottom left is these definitely I have memories of. These are the old bases. And most of you, I don't know if anyone knows this on this call, but when we did the national base swap, this was, wow, a decade ago, that was actually managed, believe it or not, through my garage in my home. And so we had in my garage and in my basement just thousands of clickers coming through. I don't remember exactly why. I think it was the fastest way that we could turn things around. So yes, I have a bit of PTSD looking at that one. It was an interesting time in my life. So, but yes, let's open things up for questions.
Oh, thanks for taking us through those fun memories. I especially love looking at all the Halloween costumes at this time of year. We did have one question come in so far. Is the iClicker Classic software still going to be downloadable after January 2024?
Yep,
So
I
for
provided an answer in there, but I'll say it
Yeah.
out loud. We will provide a final version of the iClicker software, and that version will be available on our website. It can be downloaded after January 24th. The key thing to know is that that version will not support mobile. And the reason for that is that going forward, because we're not going to be upgrading the iClicker software, if there were any changes to the mobile application, it would not work. We don't want it to break. The other thing is that it will not support LMS integrations. Again, those have to be worked on from a technology standpoint or development team. So we have to continue. We won't be able to continue that. If for some reason that final version is not acceptable to you, that would be a good time to reach out to Natalie and Lindsay to provide your specific information, and we can help you with the transition.
Yep. Thanks, Stephen. All right, we have a question from Matt. What does the fall of 2024 look like for iClicker? Are there any new things on the roadmap that can be shared? So another question for you, Stephen.
Sure. We have some exciting things coming in 2024. One of the things I will mention, because this is an iClicker Classic audience, is that we will be adding a version of demographics into the software, the iClicker Cloud software for 2024. It may not look exactly like what you've seen in iClicker Classic. And the reason for that is we try to learn from what's working and where we could possibly improve. So the development team, instead of just replicating what's in Classic, has been doing interviews with those who are using it, looking for opportunities where they can improve upon the solution. But it would be in the spirit of how demographics is being used. We will also be releasing, actually this year, our events functionality. The events functionality is an option where participants can join without entering their information and creating an account. Now, keep in mind, this is designed for events. So at the end of the event, the data is not saved. In order to save the participant data, you have to be able to create an account. So you don't want to use this in your classes. But if you are doing a faculty senate or student senate or freshman orientation or any type of event on your campus, this would be a great solution for that. We have a new STEM question in development that's going to be focusing on improving the functionality for STEM classes. And Christy Treadway, our head of products, not on this call, so she would have more information about the product roadmap. But those are just a taste of some of the things that we're focusing on.
Perfect. Thanks, Stephen. This might be another question for you, but will we be able to use the iClicker Classic software, the current version that still integrates with the Canvas LMS for spring 2024? This would allow us a much longer transition time over the summer.
Okay, I am going to answer this, but I'm also asking our head of product, who is not in my actual ear, but she's on Slack, to tell me if I say anything wrong. It is my understanding that the software version that you currently are using, you can continue using it and it will continue to work with your LMS. But if any changes happen with the LMS, for example, if your LMS is Canvas or Blackboard, you said Canvas in this example, if Canvas makes a change and that change causes the LMS not to work with iClicker, we will not be able to update that. So at that point, the solution would be to move to iClicker Cloud. The chances of Canvas making a change mid-semester that's going to break it are not good. So I think you're pretty safe. But if it were to happen, then you would contact support and they would say that you're going to need to move to the iClicker Cloud software.
All right. Thanks, Stephen. That was very helpful. That is all the questions that we currently have. So
let me clarify a point for Julianne. Julianne, if you're going to continue using your LMS integration, you do not want to download that new version, that final version, because that version does not work with an LMS. So just don't update when it comes between now and spring semester. Keep using the version that you're using.
Okay, important clarification there. All right. Well, if that's it for questions, then I just want to.
I'd like to make
Yeah,
another, I
sure.
include something. I just want to include a point because the photo at the top with the nunchucks, with the iClicker nunchucks, with, you know, everything, you know, soldered together. One of my stress points when I was using iClicker Classic was I could never lose that flash drive. That losing the flash drive not only would cause a problem with grades, but it would have been a FERPA violation if anybody else ever, you know, looked at that flash drive. So I always lived with that fear and what happens if the flash drive would crash or whatever. I was always backing. I had a gazillion backups. And that's one of the releases, the stress release points with going to cloud, because everything is on the cloud. It doesn't, I don't need that flash drive anymore. I don't have to worry about it getting lost, stolen, misplaced, or whatever. And I did not realize what a stress point that was for me until I no longer had to worry about it.
I have a suggestion for administrators here. I don't know if they're here, or even not if they're not here, for faculty members using iClicker Classic. Always communicate with your IT people who are taking care of the LMS integration. So then if they're not gonna use, you know, that third party connection, at least you would know what's going on, why things aren't working, or why, you know, so then you're not gonna be in a big surprise. Because sometimes I don't know if some university will announce what's going on, but just always connect with your IT people who take care of your LMS integration. Thank you.
I think
Thanks
that
for the
raises a really great point, that we haven't always been able to talk to our iClicker Classic users because it's been sort of locked down. When you're an iClicker Cloud user, you're going to get invited to regular webinars that show you how to use the product in lots of cool ways. We always are talking about what new products are coming out, so you're going to be aware of those things. And we are always highlighting voices like Edna's and Grace, because we really know that you want to hear from your peers when it comes to how to use iClicker. So when you make that move over to iClicker Cloud, you're going to get a more rich experience, not just in the software, but we have a lot more support for you.
Yeah, that's definitely something to keep in mind. Thanks, Natalie. All right, well, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who joined us today as a participant and attendee, and thanks to our lovely panel of speakers, especially Edna and Grace, for sharing their own personal experiences. So have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yes.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for coming.
Have a
Great
good day.
party.
Thank you for coming, guys.
Thanks,
Goodbye,
everybody.
Classic.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Yeah, where is the cake,
Bye.
right?
Yeah, we needed a cake. We needed some confetti. Ah, well. Thanks, everybody.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thank you all. Nice job.
Bye.
Have a good day.